So, do you struggle with getting good quality sleep? So many of us struggle every night to get a good night's sleep. In fact, it is estimated that 70 million Americans suffer from chronic sleep problems, a major driver of chronic disease states.
Really, as someone who had insomnia and also had sleep
Mm.
deprivation, and sleep was just never a priority, it motivated me to help others because I was able to overcome that hurdle. And then this became more of, oh my goodness, just how clear I think when I'm sleeping well.
25 to 50% of children have issues with sleep, 50% of adolescents.
What you're doing when you're really setting a wake time and a bedtime consistently is you're ensuring that your circadian rhythm is well aligned. So you're essentially cueing it and keeping it in sync rather than just kind of sleeping and waking at random times.
So, do you struggle with getting good quality sleep? So many of us struggle every night to get a good night's sleep. In fact, it is estimated that 70 million Americans suffer from chronic sleep problems, a major driver of chronic disease states. If you are one of those struggling, I have the perfect person to help you learn a few ways to help you get the sleep you need. Today, I'm excited to interview Dr. Afolabi-Brown. She's a triple board certified sleep medicine physician, passionate about helping people discover the gift of sleep as a superpower. Dr. Brown is a speaker, coach, educator, writer, and the founder of Restful Sleep MD, where she helps busy professional women and their children prioritize sleep to achieve their optimal health, thrive, and live their fullest potential. Dr. Brown, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your knowledge with us. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. I had such an interesting time when I first met you and hearing your story. As a physician in practice for over a decade, what was the catalyst for you to create Restful Sleep MD? Where did it all come from? Would love to hear your story.
Yeah, no. So really it came from the place of just the patterns I was seeing with, my patients and, the fact that they may have come in with maybe some sleep problem, but then just the
Mm.
fundamentals, the basics was something that I saw was missing. And, there's so many that I can see in one day. And so I really realized that if I could essentially replicate myself in the courses, in the speaking in different platforms, then I'm getting the word out there to create the awareness of sleep. So a lot of people will focus on, okay, maybe I'm snoring, and so I have a sleep problem, or I am very restless when I'm sleeping. So that's why I have a sleep problem. But then there are other things. People have very poor quality sleep. People have, inadequate sleep habits. And so that's getting in their way of getting good sleep. And so really helping people understand, one, sleep is something that you can achieve. And two, these are some ways to make sure that you're consistently getting restful sleep prompted me or motivated me to start there. And then also because some of it was also my personal story, really, as someone who had insomnia and also had sleep deprivation, and sleep was just never a priority. It motivated me to help others because I was able to overcome that hurdle. And then this became more of, oh my goodness, just how clear I think when I'm sleeping well, and just how much better I am in terms of my mood and my energy and motivation and things like that. So it's kind of a combination of my personal story and then what I've been seeing out there that really helped me to move forward with this.
Yeah, and I think that sleep is something that we take for granted, right? It's almost like a medal of honor too. Like, oh, I'm not sleeping. I don't have to sleep. I'm working till 12, 1, or I'm up and I get up at 5, and all of a sudden you start getting all these other issues, and sleep is never considered as maybe that's one of the reasons why all the rest of the issues are coming up, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just a badge of honor right now. If we don't sleep, that's great. You don't need to sleep. And it's
Yeah.
so important, and really the most critical foundational thing we can do for our health.
No,
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, because also sometimes we're looking like for some big fancy, I mean, not to trivialize these other issues, but sometimes let's sleep well, see where that ends up, and then we'll see what comes out of it. But we're looking for like some big diagnosis or some big mega treatment workup. But first, start with good sleep. Start with that, get enough sleep, get good quality sleep. And then you can see a lot of times sleep actually is definitely when it comes to inadequate sleep can be a culprit to a lot of the things that we experience.
Yeah. And, you know, I saw this really interesting statistic where 25 to 50% of children have issues with sleep, 50% of adolescents. And then we wonder why there's so many behavioral issues in children, right? Why, you know, I know we've spoken about the parents, right? And the moms and the caregivers also struggling with sleep. And it's like this big cycle, right? Where no one is getting any rest at all. And then they're out in the workplace and we're out on the streets. And then, you know, our moods are affected, our health is affected. It's such a simple thing that has such a large impact.
Yep. No, you're right. And then one thing I would also point out is that children become the adolescents that become the adults. So it starts somewhere. I mean, some people don't have any sleep issues as children, and then maybe they go through a life experience or some medical issue that then starts to impact their ability to sleep. But then it's sometimes some of these habits, some of the challenges we've had with sleep. I've had people say, listen, as long as I've been alive, I've had sleep problems. So again, it just kind of trickles down.
Yeah, I believe that. What do you see of all the patients that you've seen? What do you think is the most common theme? Like, what is that one thing that they are doing that is impacting their sleep the most?
One common thing is using the bed for everything else but sleep, you know? So I see a lot of times where, you know, just in terms of just that habits piece of it, where people are either on their devices for a while, in bed for long hours, just exposed to the light, which can make it really hard to fall asleep, or staying in bed worrying, or, you know, watching TV or doing work, especially with the people I work with who are, you know, professionals. So we're bringing in our laptops, we're sending those final emails or responding to them, or, you know, we're trying to just relax in our own way. And so maybe just watching TV to numb just the stress that we're experiencing. And so what then happens is the bed becomes this place where, you know, our brains don't know if we're meant to be worrying or meant to be sleeping or meant to be eating, you know. So I see that very commonly just from even you know, just a habit standpoint. And then, you know, the other thing is also, you know, things like not necessarily having a buffer zone or a wind down time. And I think that's very important, especially if you're someone who's been busy all day and doing so many things, and you've not necessarily had enough time for yourself. I think it's very helpful that you stop, just breathe for a moment, journal, meditate, read, take a bath, whatever it is, before you hop into bed. So that way you're essentially cueing your body that it's time for sleep.
Yeah. Creating a ritual every evening. And as far as the devices, I've been a victim of, I've done that myself. Well, you just want to shut the rest of the world out and say, okay, this is my time. And I'm just going to disappear for a little bit. And I can only imagine that a lot of our, you know, an increase in issues with sleep, in sleep disorders, is because we are so attached to social media and the devices and having such accessibility to them when we're sleeping, right? But I can totally relate.
To be honest, not just you, because especially if you've been, it's almost like that, like, okay, I just need some me time, right? And I think we all deserve that me time, right? And that me time can be a treat or whatever you want to call it, where you do spend some time on social media. Like it's engaging, you get to connect with people you've not seen, friends you've made. So I think that is completely okay. But I just worry, especially for if people have problems with falling asleep and their minds are racing and they're tossing and turning in bed, those would be sort of low-hanging fruit, where I would say maybe not do it in bed, maybe do it outside of the bed, maybe you do it at the beginning of your routine before you get ready so you still get that experience and that feeling of that connection, but then not in a way that it impairs your ability to sleep.
Absolutely agree. Keep the bed for just two things.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I agree. So for anyone who's watching this right now, what are some 3 things that they can do right now and start to help them? And I know we've already spoken about, the devices and creating a routine, but is there anything else you would like to add that will give them a jump start or something to be able to at least say, okay, you know what, that's a great idea. I'm going to at least incorporate one of these things and see if I can improve my sleep.
Yeah, I love it. I love that I'm going to get to give 5, but I've already given 2, so I'm going to give 3, which is what you
exactly.
So I think one important piece is consistency with our bedtime and our wake time. The reason why is we all have that circadian rhythm that is aligned with, the 24-hour clock. And so what you're doing when you're really setting a wake time and a bedtime consistently is you're ensuring that your circadian rhythm is well aligned. So you're essentially cueing it and keeping it in sync rather than just kind of sleeping and waking at random times. And I usually will encourage, even on the weekends, if you're going to sleep in on the weekends, you want to just make sure maybe 1 hour extra or 2 hours at most, right? So we have to just be realistic. So I think that's very important. That's very foundational, in addition to some of the other things I listed. And then also, one of the things I recommend, especially if you're someone who is struggling with, say, insomnia, or you have a hard time really getting your body to settle down, where you feel super tired, but you're wired, is that you don't stay in bed for excessive periods of time. Because especially, if you're someone with chronic pain or anything like that, there's the tendency to just want to lay in bed because you feel exhausted all the time. Right. But what that does is it decreases your sleep pressure and really makes it hard for you to sleep well the next night. So really, again, it's all about sleeping in bed and not doing anything else. So you shouldn't be worrying in bed. You shouldn't be laying still in bed or anything of that sort. I think that's really important. And then I would say I'm a lover of naps. I think naps are so refreshing. I think it's I just think
I agree.
Good. Yes.
We should, do like the Europeans and have a little siesta time.
Siesta sounds great. Exactly. I would keep naps short, though. I would keep it short and sweet. So really, you want to avoid prolonged naps because it drops your sleep pressure again. And so really, we want to build that sleep pressure so that we're sleeping well at night. So it's almost like having a snack, right? You wouldn't want to take a ginormous snack before your dinner. Otherwise, you won't be able to eat that dinner, right? So the same with our sleep. So if you're going to take a nap, maybe earlier in the day, say before like 12 noon or 1 p.m., something of that sort, just to take the edge off, but then to give you enough time to build your sleep pressure. So those are just some things that I think is really helpful, and you can actually start tonight.
That's phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure you're going to be helping someone immediately right away with these suggestions. Thank you. If someone wanted to reach out to you and they wanted to maybe have a consultation with you, like where can you be found?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for having me. So I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram at Restful Sleep MD. So that's one place to find me. And then also on my website at restfulsleepmd.com. And there's actually a checklist on there that you could sign up for that really goes into detail some of the things we talked about, healthy habits that you can start incorporating as part of your lifestyle. And then, if you're there, you've done all the things, you're like, this is not working for me, then you can schedule a call with me also on my website where we can just talk about what's going on with your sleep and how I can be of help.
I love that. I will make sure to include all of that information. In the information notes. And thank you so much. It is something that is so important. I see this myself with a lot of my clients where really, almost all of them, you talk to them and they will tell you, I'm not sleeping. I can't sleep well. And that is always the foundation, right? That is where we need to start before anything else falls into place. Such important work and impacting so many lives. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and just sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and also for just the amazing work you're doing too, Jacqui.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. All righty, well, hopefully we'll do this again.
Yes, absolutely. Take care.